Focus. Okay, so we have another AR upper comparison video. We're still testing our AR Stoner competition upper, which is attached to the lower in that case there. And then the Shaw Custom we have in that improvised case over there. Anyway, so what we're testing today, Sierra Match King, 77 grain. These are factory seconds, so I'm not expecting the best groups. I am expecting flyers. But it is with accurate XMR 4064 at the maximum mag length. Another thing that's going to affect our groups is that these are all compressed loads. So I did note that some of these, despite my best efforts, still have a difference of seating depth, even from cartridge-based ogive, of about 2 thousandths. So with the weather, I'm not expecting anything fantastic. If I get anything under anything under an inch, I'll consider that a wind. Freudian slip. I'll consider that a win. Speaking of weather, we have changing winds with gusts upwards of 20 miles an hour. It's calm now. You can see slight snow. But we do have some incoming, some heavy snow, supposedly. We'll see. Michigan likes to surprise us. But anyway, usually it's a headwind. Sometimes it's switching from the right. And again, gusting upwards of 20 miles an hour. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. Let's get to it. Okay, so on the left, you have the AR Stoner. The primer, look at that. You can see a little bit of cratering. Whereas on the right, you can see that the Shaw Custom, like that's actually still fairly well-rounded primer. So we got room to grow there. Well, in terms of pressure, I don't think I want to try cramming more powder than what I am in here. It's just a slower burning powder. But also look, the Shaw Custom has dirtier brass because, again, it has a larger chamber. This brass was sized with my Matchmaster die set, my new one, and it's about a 3 thousandths shoulder bump. Well, 3 thousandths for the Shaw, 2 thousandths for the AR Stoner. And what a difference it made. Now, near the case neck, you can kind of ignore that a little bit because some of that is just residual carbon staining from, going on 13 firings without annealing and all the other fun stuff. The main thing to pay attention to, just other than the general grit, is those primers. That said, let's go take a look at our targets. Okay, so here's our groups, and on the upper row and to the lower right, we have our AR Stoner. On our lower row and to our lower left, we have our Shaw Custom. So let's get to our group interpretation. So minimum charge, 23 grains, propelling a 77 grain bullet. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then moving up by 0.2 grains, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, overlapping practically, 4. But then over here, this is our second to maximum charge, or second from the maximum charge. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not bad. This is basically a half-inch group. Nothing to complain about here for basically an entry-level upper with 2,000 rounds through it. Then the last charge, which this is skipping a graduation, by the way. This is going up by 0.4 grains because I just wanted to see what the maximum charge would be. Anyway, huge shift to the point of impact to the lower right, and the group opens up. Although, nothing to complain about. This is still, basically, like a little over a 1-inch group. Going to our Shaw Custom, this is our minimum charge. Only 3 shots here. Then, next step up, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our last group, this is our worst group of the day, a little around 1.5 inches. We have this double grouping kind of dynamic going on, but 1, 2, 3, 4. So a little bit disappointed in the Shaw Custom here, but with these 77 grain Match Kings, even though these are factory seconds, I'm noticing that rifle doesn't really seem to enjoy them much. Maybe I need to mess around with more powders. The next one I'd like to try, along with a different set of brass, is going to be Reloader 15.5. So that'll be fun. So what can we take away from all this, though? One thing I do think is really interesting is I've been noticing a very strong correlation, and again, just my observations with just these two barrels, is that when I find a bad load, like a really bad harmonic node, it seems to apply to both the barrels. So like the internal dynamics of that cartridge, for whatever reason, for that load, just seems to affect both barrels in some way, shape, or form. How it manifests can be different. I mean, double grouping here, and this one just opens up with a huge point to impact shift going on. Yeah, sure, but they're both the worst groups of the day. Now, the accuracy, we've seen that it can be different. Well, both the precision and the accuracy, rather, I should say. Like, I don't think there's anything here that really points to the point to impact being similar between all the rounds for both of the rifles, if that makes sense. So in other words, I don't think with this powder, this bullet, I can find a true optimum charge weight, especially since, as we saw with our brass, they're operating on different pressure levels. 24 grains for a 77 grain bullet is definitely the maximum load for the AR Stoner upper. It is not the max load for my Shaw custom competition. So, yeah, interesting. Well, I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of babbling. That means we have to end the video, but I'm going to put it together. I also did some bore scoping that I'll show off, and I think that'll be enough. Okay, so welcome back, gents. I'm about to go out to the range again, but I decided to take apart my uppers. I took off the lower, and we're going to check out the rifling and the bores of the two uppers. This is the Shaw Custom, and I'm just using the base scope here. There we go. Get the focus. So we were in the chamber here, and you can see it has not been cleaned. So this is just the raw. This is it freshly dirtied after 50 rounds, I guess. You'll notice to the upper left there, if I can navigate it a little bit, we had a split cartridge case, and you can see the effects there. There's some extra carbon buildup over there to the left. And let's enter. This is the neck area into the throat. You can see where there's a lot of carbon, some minor amount of copper. There's a shred right up there. Let's go up until we find that gas port, because otherwise this actually looks pretty fine. Okay, I'm seeing where there is some copper. It's blue. This is the day after, so the copper is oxidized a little bit. Oh, and there's let's rotate it. You can see where it's a little bit worn on the other side. It almost looks like a part of it chipped off. And I see where it's been drilled between two of the lands, so right in the groove. Not quite centered, but someone's going to have to tell me if that's proper or not. And then, otherwise I don't see any other issues. And we should be approaching, yeah, there's what the muzzle brake looks like from the other side. So we're doing good. So stand by while I take this out. And then we're going to put in for the AR Stoner upper. Okay, here we go. Here's the AR Stoner chamber. Looks like we got some brass shavings there. Sorry for any background noise. It definitely looks a lot more rough up here. If we were to use one of the angled mirrors, we'd see that there's fire cracking going on. And on those lands, you can see that there's copper embedded into that fire cracking. Very hard to get out. I don't have any abrasives, and honestly, I think I'm happy with it being in there. Otherwise, in the grooves, you can see that there's some oxidized copper. Just some residual ones. Yeah, right there. There's a lot of copper that isn't oxidized. Almost borderline plating. And then, wow. So you can see where it's pretty much almost, I don't want to say stripping the bullet from the copper, but oh, there we go. That's what we're looking for. This looks more eroded, but it doesn't look like there's any chunks missing, so that's good. The other one looked like there was almost a chip from it. There's some schmutz. Let's get all the way down to the end. And there you go. There's the flash hider from the other end. There we go. So there, long story short, this one is definitely, I mean, I fired almost 2,000 rounds. It's going to have some wear, and you can definitely see, even from here, the fire cracking. You know, let me go ahead. I'll put on the angled mirror so you guys can get a better look at it. I don't think we need to do this with the Shaw Custom, but stand by. Okay, we're back with the AR Stoner. So this is what the, just beyond the neck area and the throat look like. So some of these, there we go. There is a land. And you can see the minor fire cracking with plenty of carbon in there. And maybe a little bit of copper. It looks a little bit more than just a light amount. Let me see if I can find where that copper definitely looked more embedded. Right there. There's one area. Maybe you need to go further down where there's a little bit less carbon. Seems like the closer you get to the throat, to the more carbon you see. Oh, there you go. Definitely looks a little bit worn. And otherwise it's drilled, 1 second. Am I mistaken, or does that look like it's been drilled right in the middle of a land? That looks like it's between two grooves, but right on a land. Yeah, so someone please tell me if that's proper or not. But otherwise, yeah, I see where there's been copper buildup. Anyway, so that's enough. I'm going to put these together and take them out to the range. I wanted to end on the note and reminder that this video is one of a series. Don't take it as holy gospel that AR Stoner is the better shooter than Shaw Custom. Both of these have been capable of producing half-inch groups, depending on the bullet and powder combination. This is really meant to be more a series of videos about what you can pay attention to and what's going to be different when you buy a new barrel or new upper, even though it's chambered in the exact same cartridge. This is one of the glories and pitfalls of being a reloader. Anyway, so pay attention to more videos to come.